Hi, this is Jamey with Stonemeyer Games, and I'm here today to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Above and Below. Above and Below is, at its heart, a storytelling game, but it's built on some strong economic game concepts. And not just economic, like resource gathering, but also you're building and improving your engine as you go. It's a really clever game. I have really enjoyed playing it. It's been a few months since I've gotten to play it. I don't own it, but I really enjoyed my plays of it. And I wanted to mention, and I've been thinking about it for a while, what my favorite mechanism is, because for a long time I thought it was the storytelling element, which I think is the most memorable aspect of the game whenever you play. The designer, Ryan, uses some interesting mechanisms to keep the story random and interesting every time you play. But for some reason that wasn't enough for me to talk about, and that's so obvious that, I don't know, it just didn't click for me as my favorite game mechanism. And then a few days ago I realized what it is. It's the mechanism that I thought about more than any other mechanism in the game, and it's one that I don't think I've seen in another game. It's just really, really clever. And so I printed out a picture to help describe it. And so what this mechanism is the resource accumulation mechanism. In Above and Below, for the most part, you are just accumulating resources. You're going off and exploring, and then during those explorations, you often find some resources, and the farther you go, the more challenging the encounter, the event that you have. Often the better or the more difficult resources to get you will earn. And there are buildings as well that will help you earn specific resources. And when you get those resources, you put them on your player mat. And that's what I want to show you today. So the player mat, this is the player mat. This is an example from Board Game Geek. And it shows you over here that this player has one of these resources. I'm not sure what that is. But I don't have the wooden tokens, or my friend who has it doesn't have the wooden tokens. But the first time you get a resource, whatever type that is, you put it here. And you can continue to accumulate as many resources of that type that you want on this slot. And then at the end of each round, you get 5 income. And then at the end of the game, you get 1 point for every resource of this type on that slot. Then the next time you get a resource, you put it here. And this one increases your income a little bit. It's up to 6 now. And each of these are still worth 1 point at the end of the game. And then you continue to do that. Every slot, the income either gets better or the points per token get better. And so there's just a lot of clever stuff going on in this mechanism because, one, it's a real reason to go out and diversify what you're doing in the game. You're not just figuring out how to get one resource and then just pumping out one after another of that resource. There is a specific built-in mechanism here to help you diversify the number of resources, the number of resource types that you have. And then the game kind of pushes you to focus on getting the harder to get resources, because early in the game, like, these are the ones that are easier to get, and so they're going to naturally fill up these slots where they're worth fewer points. And then later in the game, these are the ones that are harder and harder to get, these resources, just not based on this track, but based on how you're getting those resources in the game. But as you put them on the track, these are also the resources that are more valuable because they're worth more points at the end of the game. Per resource because of where they're positioned on this track. It's just a really, really clever mechanism. It's very satisfying as you play because every time you add a new resource to your tableau, it's worth more than the one before it, regardless of what it is, even if it's the easiest resource to get. And that's actually a strategy in the game. You might try to push really hard early in the game and fill these up with some of the harder to obtain resources. And then after you get up to the second level of more points, then maybe you go after an easier resource and really pump them out. Or maybe you get a building early on in the game that produces an easy resource, but you don't actually produce that resource yet, so that you can wait and then produce a bunch later on in the game. Really, really clever resource gathering and resource accumulation mechanism. And I don't think I've seen it in any other game. Maybe I have, but it's just not clicking because I haven't seen it in this exact form. But I guess my question for you today is, A, what's your favorite mechanism in Above and Below? And B, what is your favorite resource gathering accumulation mechanism, particularly one where resources are worth something at the end of the game, and that's not just a static value. That's getting, basically, we're probably narrowing it down just to above and below, but maybe there's some other examples that you can think of. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thanks.